event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has handed over the Algerian Military Football Cup to the winning team of the Republican Guard. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has strongly condemned the new aggressions by the Zionist army against the inhabitants of the Gaza Strip, which left around 100 martyrs, including several children, in a blatant violation of the ceasefire. And authorities and residents of the Sahrawi cities, notably Dakhla and Awserd, continue to take to the streets in the massive demonstrations condemning attempts to deny the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination and independence ahead of the UN Security Council's vote on a US-backed autonomy plan. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, has handed over on Wednesday evening the Algerian Military Football Cup to the team of the Republican Guard, winner against the team of the Directorate of Administration and Common Services of the Ministry of National Defense. The President of the Republic also handed medals to the two teams at the end of the final of this cup, which took place at the Gathering and Preparation Center for Military Sports Teams in Ben Aknoun in Algiers. The Minister of State and Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has had a telephone conversation with the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Mohammad Ishaq Dar. According to a statement from the ministry, the call was an opportunity to discuss the state of Algerian-Pakistani relations and examine ways to further boost them. The statement said the two ministers also stressed the need to continue bilateral coordination within the United Nations Security Council and discussed the main issues on the agenda of this UN body during this month. The Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Azouz Nasri, has visited the Algerian embassy in Luanda, Angola, located on a street named after the late President Houari Boumediene, on the sidelines of his participation as representative to the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, in the proceedings of the Third Summit on Financing Infrastructure Development in Africa, held from the 28th to the 31st of October, according to a statement issued by the Upper House of Parliament. Algeria has reiterated its unwavering support for the total and unconditional lifting of all economic, commercial, and financial embargo imposed on Cuba. Speaking during a United Nations General Assembly session devoted to the embargo imposed on Cuba, Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, Ammar Benjama, stressed that the sanctions run counter international law and UN charters, calling for the immediate and unconditional lifting.
Guided by the principles and purposes of the UN Charter, Algeria reiterates its unwavering support for the immediate and unconditional lifting of the unjust economic, commercial, and financial embargo imposed on Cuba for more than 6 decades. This policy runs contrary to the fundamental principles of international law and of the Charter of the United Nations, including the sovereign equality of states, non-interference in internal affairs, and freedom of international trade and navigation.
It's worth noting that the resolution was adopted with 165 votes in favor, 7 against, and 12 abstentions, with Argentina, Hungary, North Macedonia, Paraguay, and Ukraine joining the US and Israel in voting against the resolution. The Minister of Environment and Quality of Life, Kawtar Krikou, has presented in Nouakchott, Mauritania, the efforts of Algeria in the fight against the phenomenon of desertification and the strengthening of ecological balance through the rehabilitation of the Green Dam, says a statement from the ministry during her participation in the proceedings of the first day of the 4th session of the Arab Environment Forum of the Council of Arab Ministers in charge of the environment. Ms. Grieco presented the experience of Algeria in the relaunch and rehabilitation of the Green Dam project as part of its efforts to combat desertification as a model of a vital mechanism with strategic dimension for the preservation of the ecological balance and biodiversity in materialization of the sustainable development objectives. And the 28th Algiers International Book Fair, SILA, opened its doors to the public today at the Palais des Expositions in Algiers, bringing together readers, writers, and publishers from around the world under the theme, The Book, a Meeting Point of Cultures. On the occasion, Prime Minister Saifi Ghrieb toured several pavilions of the fair, starting with the children's section, then the People's National Army Pavilion, where he reviewed publications from various military institutions, and later stopped at the pavilion of the General Directorate of National Security to learn about its publications, including Police magazine. He visited the Ministry of Culture and Arts Pavilion, where he learned about the virtual tour project of the Palace of the Bay in Constantine, and called for expanding this digital experience to all museums, airports, and cultural institutions across Algeria. Mr. Saifi Ghrieb stressed the importance of digitizing culture and tasked the Minister of Startups with expanding this initiative to all museums and major heritage sites. Let's listen to him.
The digitization of culture and literature in general must be developed, and we must fully focus on how to integrate digitalization into the world of culture and make it a means to convey your message to young people. For that purpose, the Minister of Startups was called upon to propose solutions and generalize them to all Algerian museums with the aim of fully digitizing them so that all museums and archaeological sites of significance, especially those of global importance, are represented at the airport.
Mr. Saifi Ghrieb visited the pavilion of Mauritania, the guest of honor, where the country's Publishers Union president highlighted the fair as a chance to strengthen Algerian-Mauritanian cultural ties and fulfill the vision of both nations' leaders. In this regard, the Mauritanian Minister of Culture, Arts, Communication and Relations with Parliament and Government spokesperson Al-Hussein Ould Meddou said Mauritania's participation as guest of honor reflects the growing cultural ties with Algeria, strengthened through new agreements and active cooperation.
Mauritania participated as the guest of honor at the fair to strengthen cultural relations, which have reached their peak of excellence and development under the leadership of His Excellency the President of the Republic, Mr. Mohammed Ould Sheikh Al Ghazouani, and His Excellency the President of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. These relations are witnessing significant progress across various cultural, economic, and political fields. Today, in the cultural sector, we are also witnessing further development, diversification, and expansion of these ties through the organization and signing of several agreements in the cultural, media, and parliamentary fields, as well as through active participation in the cultural events and activities organized by Algeria.
The Prime Minister met with Algerian publishers to discuss book experts and pledged to provide facilitations and remove all obstacles to support the sector.
In line with the instructions of the President of the Republic, we will provide all necessary facilities to every exporter. If you have an export market, we are here to assist you. The state is ready to support every operator wishing to export, and we will convey all their concerns to the authorities.
Mr. Saifi visited several international pavilions, including that of Palestine, where the ambassador praised Algeria's steadfast support for the Palestinian cause. Our colleague Morad Ait Mukhtar covered the event and spoke to the representative of the Czech Republic Pavilion, who said the following.
Oh, hello. So welcome in our station, like in our booth in SILA. And here you can find a little bit of our Czech culture, especially our literature, which is also focused on kids literature. We have also a big exhibition from the village Lidice. It was international exhibition and this village is very famous, even though it's not so big, because it was it was deleted by Alman Nazist, and now it's very important also for our culture. So yeah, we are very happy to show the little piece of our Czech heritage, and it's very nice to communicate with Algerian culture. So thank you very much.
Our colleague also spoke to an Algerian visitor who gave her positive impression about the fair.
Okay, I personally think the FIBDA is a very interesting event for everybody who reads or who actually search for resources for study or research in any field of their lives or in their studies or academic life. So I really encourage this event to carry on because it is attracting so many people from all around the wilayas. So yeah, we're welcome in every year. Thank you.
Over the next 10 days, visitors will have the opportunity to meet many Algerian and foreign writers who will present their new works and participate in numerous seminars and discussions as part of the fair's cultural program. The Minister of Communications, Zohair Bouamama, has received in Algiers the Minister of Information, General Supervisor of the Official Media of the State of Palestine, Ahmed Najib Assaf, on a visit to Algeria as part of the celebration of the 63rd anniversary of the recovery of national sovereignty over national radio and television, according to a statement from the ministry. During the meeting, the two parties reviewed the state of bilateral cooperation in the field of media and the means to strengthen it in the service of common causes, on top of which the Palestinian cause, stressing the importance of unifying the Arab media discourse facing current challenges, notably the defense of Palestinian rights and the fight against disinformation campaigns. And the Minister General Supervisor of the Official Media of the State of Palestine and Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Palestinian News Agency WAFA, Ahmed Najib Assaf, has visited the Algerian Press Service APS, where he praised its role in supporting the Palestinian cause and making its voice heard around the world. In the Palestinian file, the media office in the Gaza Strip has announced that the number of journalists killed since October 7, 2023 has risen to 256 following the murder of a journalist in a bombing by the Zionist occupation army in the Palestinian enclave despite a ceasefire in force. Said Bouazi has more details.
According to the media office in the besieged Palestinian enclave, journalist Mohammed El-Munirawi, who worked as a journalist with the newspaper Palestine, fell as a martyr in a bombing of the Zionist occupation army in the Gaza Strip. Palestinian journalists face particularly high risks when they exercise their profession in the middle of Zionist ground and air attacks. In recent hours, Zionist planes have intensified the bombings on the cities of Gaza and Deir el-Balah inside the Yellow Line and on the refugee camps of Al-Nusayrat in the center of the Palestinian enclave, which constitutes a blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement. This 18th violation of the ceasefire by the Zionist entity raises worries and questions about the faith and the solidity of this agreement signed and implemented only 19 days ago. Through this brutal aggression, the Zionist occupation plunges the Palestinians and the whole world in a dark period of the history of humanity, annihilating hopes for a better future for the Palestinians of the Gaza Strip, who, as a reminder, have seen more than 68,000 fall as martyrs and more than 170,000 wounded over the last 2 years.
And the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has strongly condemned the new aggressions by the Zionist army against the inhabitants of the Gaza Strip, which left around 100 martyrs, including several children, in blatant violation of the ceasefire round or agreement in force. According to the Secretary General spokesperson, Stéphane Dujarric, Mr. Guterres stressed that any act likely to harm civilians or disrupt humanitarian operations must be avoided. And as I said before, the authorities and residents of the Sahrawi cities, notably Dakhla and Awsard, continue to take to the streets in massive demonstrations, condemning attempts to deny the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination and independence. And this comes ahead of the UN Security Council's vote on a US-backed autonomy plan, which has been proposed by the United States and which will be voted upon tomorrow instead of today. It was initially scheduled for today but postponed for tomorrow, Friday. And in Sudan, the World Health Organization, WHO, has denounced the murder of more than 650 or 60 people, or 460 people in a maternity hospital in El Fasher, the last partially functional hospital in the Sudanese city. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the WHO is appalled and deeply shocked by the information reporting the tragic murder of more than 460 patients and their companions at the Saudi maternity hospital in El Fasher in Sudan following the recent attacks and the abduction of health workers. Saad Bougazi gives more details.
According to the WHO, this maternity was the only hospital still partially operational in the city, falling this week into the hands of the Rapid Support Forces, RSF. Sunday, this maternity was attacked for the fourth time in a month, killing a nurse and injuring 3 other health professionals, said the organization. Tuesday, more than 460 patients and their companions were shot in the hospital, WHO said, adding that 6 health professionals had also been abducted.
And it's worth recalling that the United Nations Security Council is to hold today a meeting on the situation in Sudan at the request of several countries, including Algeria. The meeting, slated for 10 hours, New York time, comes at the request of Algeria, Sierra Leone, Somalia, Guyana, the United Kingdom, and Denmark, and with the support of Slovenia. And now we leave you with our special program devoted to an interview conducted by our colleague Asia Bakar for the SILA, the 28th edition of SILA. And this brings us to the end of this news bulletin for today. You can follow our news on our official Facebook page, our official account on X platform, and through My Algerian Radio app, downloadable on smartphones and cars. And bye-bye for the time being.
Hello, dear listeners, and welcome on the waves of Radio Algeria International on the occasion of the 28th edition of the Algiers International Book Fair, SILA. We are happy to welcome in our studio an Algerian author whose books are exhibited at the fair, Mr. Naji Amin Benbata. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Asia. I'm so happy to be with you here today.
Thank you so much
for the invitation, and I hope that it will be a nice experience for me and you and to the listeners.
Thank you so much. So in our previous interview, which was several years ago, we talked about a novel that brings together fiction and historical facts, Kifah Marakunda. And today we're going to talk about another fiction, or what is generally labeled
a history fiction book.
Yeah, so it's a history fiction book. Today we'll talk about something similar, and your novel Altava. And from the title, we can also sense a breeze of history. So tell us about it.
So, Altava is a novel, after all. It's my 11th book. It talks about one of the most sensational and important periods of the history of Algeria. It's the period of when Islam came here to North Africa. And as you can see from the title, Altava is the name of the kingdom that was here in Algeria the time that Islam came with Arabs.
What is the story about?
I tried to put light on the personal life of the king Axel Ben Lemzem, who they call Qusayda. He was a Berber king here in Algeria, and he received Arabs and Islams. I tried to show the details of his life, how he converted to Islam. A lot of details there in this novel.
What are the main themes?
The main theme is the social conflict between Berbers, Amazirs, and Arabs, because as you know, Asia, it was a cultural conflict, not a religious conflict. And then after all, I explained how all were together, and how all, for example, how the problems, how these cultural conflict have been solved.
Okay. So again, it's another novel that speaks history, which is referred to as the genre of historiographic metafiction. So it is something that characterizes many of your writings, the same as كيف أحمر كندا, the one that we talked about in our previous interview. And also we'll talk about other similar artwork or books that you've written before. Can you say that this is your favorite genre? This is your field?
Yes, because I'm so interested in history, so I like to write about this field. And writing about just history is a little bit like slow and heavy. So you must add some spices, like for example, like fiction or science fiction, to make it more like active, more passionate, so
more appealing.
Exactly. So you can say that it's hard to combine a history and fiction. You have to focus either more on history or in fiction, but I tried to create a combination between the two to make the reader feel a better experience.
Don't you feel that it is a responsibility? Because sometimes we have this historical fact in mind, then comes a novel that maybe you don't have this kind of fear that maybe it will trigger some people or shake the beliefs that they previously have about this historical fact?
It's a huge responsibility. I'll tell you why. Because first of all, playing or modifying like historical facts is not something we writers do. We should not, for example, like change things that really happened. But there are some empty spaces in history, empty folders, if we can say that. We can use our fiction to fill
the lost years.
Exactly, the lost years. Yes, the lost years, the lost details. We can use our imaginations, our we can use the fiction to fill up those empty spaces and to give more details that the readers are looking for.
So you did not give us a lot of details about the book, the novel Altava.
Altava, of course.
Maybe you want to keep the suspense for your audience?
No, I can give some details without spoiling, for example. Okay. There are 4 chapters. In Altava, we have 4 chapters. In the first chapter, I described the situation. Yes, you can say the situation of the kingdom.
The setting.
Exactly. How they were living. For example, how the ministers of the kingdom of Altava ruled that kingdom. And in the second chapter, I talked about the first meetings between Arabs, the common Arabs and the native people here. So they were, for example, places when the meetings were so friendly and so comprehensive, and other places where there were, for example, a military conflict. And then in the third chapter, I talked about the problems that were in the East, in the Middle East, and that affected what happened here in North Africa.
So, but all these details, I mean, that you're giving me, these are kind of historical facts. Yeah. What is the touch of Amin?
What is the touch of Amin? You must read the novel to understand.
You
because, for example, you must read to know how the Khalifa was killed, for example, during his prayer. I described something, for example, the candles were taken off. For example, it's just an example, but you can feel the writer's touch within the details, because the major facts or the major actions are known, but the details are not described anywhere in the historical scripts. So this is where the writer must or can leave his print.
Okay.
Exactly. The last chapter, talking about the last chapter, the last chapter is the conclusion, of course, but it's a beginning to Altava 2, Altava 1, Altava 2. Exactly.
Okay.
So a new book is coming, inshallah, to talk about the continuation of what happened, and it's in the period of the Queen Dihya of the ORS. Exactly.
So do you aim, with this kind of with stories and by always referring to historical facts in your novels, do you aim to teach the young generation about history?
Yes, why not?
Or is it just like an inspiration that comes to you and you just want to express yourself, without taking into consideration the reaction of the reader?
No, it's a little bit of both. Because I love my history. I love the history of my country. For example, I feel like comfortable reading history and writing about it. But but I have messages too, because I don't write it just like that.
Yeah, which are?
For example, giving messages, for example, defending our culture, giving the right picture of our history, because as you know, Asia, there are a lot of people that says, for example, Algeria doesn't have a history. This is what I don't like to hear, because we Algerians had history from the beginning of times, exactly. Yeah. So no one taught us how to be civilized, because we were civilized and we had our own Algerian civilization.
Okay. This fascination, by history, you know, from someone who, I have to say, who is from what we label as the new generation.
Okay, yes.
You like it?
Yes, I kind of like it.
Yeah. So how do you explain this? I mean, was it like something that you were passionate about, you know, since childhood, or is it related to your academic studies?
Not really. My academic studies have nothing to do with this. Like, my specialty is Russian. It's a Russian language and literature. And my field of studying is the mythology. Like, something...
It's related to history.
Yes, you can say that mythology is related to history, but it's not like, for example, it's not like what pushes me to focus on this. Maybe it's maybe like a choice. Everyone has the right to choose what he like writes about, or what. I love this choice. Yes, I love this choice, exactly.
Okay, wonderful. So you have other books, Amin, in different genres, and many of them are present in Sila, which is taking place right now here in Algiers. Tell us about them.
So actually, I have till now I have 14 books. I started writing and publishing since 2016. I write about different fields. I write about history. I write about like science fiction. I write about education. I have some studies published. So as I told you before, from my writings, I have a lot of messages, a lot of cases, qadaya, if we can say, cases to defend. So, for example, yes, the identity. Our identity, for example, our history, things that have to be defended by us. So, from my book, I can tell you, for example, the title of one of my most famous books. For example, I have Overdive.
Okay.
Yes, Overdive. You can say that Overdive is the most.
It won a prize. Overdive.
Yes, exactly. It won a prize in 2018. The prize of Algerian youth writers. So it was a national prize.
Okay.
I took a lot of money.
Well earned.
Exactly. So it's so famous because it touches a rare subject. It was about a scientist, a Russian scientist, living in the future, creating a machine named Overdive to travel, to go back in time. Why? To know the reality of religions. Like, he was an atheist, and he felt like there is a God who created like, he was a scientist. He had a lot of science. He had
logic,
a lot of logic, exactly. So he knew that there's no way this world will be in vain, for example, just a luck. So he created this machine and went back. He saw the religions in their time, and then, of course, in the end, with no spoiling, there are a lot of like events happened there, some fighting, some killing, some like, you know. And this is the novel Overdive. I have a few other novels too, who are not famous like Overdive, but yes, they are known by my readers. For example, Kifah Marconda, for example, Zagadka, Montparnasse, and few others.
And all these are going to be, or are now available at Sila.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. So, in addition to writing, I mean, you're very active on social media. I don't know whether we should keep asking this question on whether writers or artists in general should be present on social media. Do you think that this question should not be asked anymore because they have to be present on social media?
You know, time has changed. The writers of 1980 or 1990 are not like the authors of these days. So you have to be present in social media because the social media is a way of living now. It's a part of everyone's life. So you can't live a social life without social media. So that's why I advise everyone to be and to let his touch or to let his voice listened.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I mean, now last question. For those who do not know maybe or did not have the chance to read your books previously, what do you promise them? Or what can you say that people will find in Amin's books, whether they are novels, whether it's only fiction, whether it's fiction and history? What do readers generally find in your books?
This is a very good question because the answer is what I always promise to my readers. There are 4 F. In Arabic, I tell them that you will find 4 F. Fadila, folklore, fan, faida. So at least one of these, Fadila like ethics, fan like art, folklore, something that has exactly, and faida, a benefit, like for example informations or something. So I always promise my readers that they will at least find one of these 4 Fs.
Okay. We're sure they will find them. So I have to recall again that your books are present in Sila. You're going to be there as well?
Yes, I'm going to be there, inshallah.
Okay. You generally post about it on...
Yes, of course, I will post, yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Naji Amin Banbata.
Thank you so much, Asya. Meet you in another chance, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you. Good luck.